Grand Duke Capman is searching for a country to establish a trade alliance with while trying to counteract the effects of a love potion on his body. He visits his magical academy professor, who initially reprimands his students for selling a love potion on the black market. Despite his initial resentment, Capman admits to drinking the potion shortly after New Year's celebrations, revealing that it hasn't been long. Capman explained that he believes his symptoms will improve without seeing Navier, but soon realizes he made a mistake. He feels better every time he sees her, but the thought of never seeing her causes deep pain. He has dozens of portraits of Navier, but his burning thirst remains unabated to the point he wants to visit Navier and asks her to make him her lover. The professor identifies 3 possible causes for the potion's effectiveness on the Grand Duke. The first is the potion's self-made effectiveness, which is particularly effective on the Grand Duke. The second is the unstable mana balance, possibly influenced by the potion. The professor suspects a more complex cause. The third cause is he may have feelings for that person before he drank the potion. Their conversation is interrupted by a Western Kingdom man who arrives to see Grand Duke Capman. Upon entering his office, Sovieshu questioned the envoy about Navier's reply to his letter. The emperor was expecting a reply from Navier, but the envoy revealed that she sent no reply. Sovieshu was puzzled and couldn't understand the envoy's report. The envoy mentioned Viscount Langle, who was the commander of the 5th Division of the Supranational Knights, and Duchess Tuania, who were in the Western Kingdom. Navier's attitude towards him caused him hurt and anger, leading him to question if she thinks the letter he sent is a lie or if he made it up. After learning Duchess Tuania was together with Viscount Langle, Duke Tuania expressed his desire to the emperor for his wife's return, causing Sovieshu's anger. Sovieshu shouted at Duke Tuania, accusing him of not believing in his wife and getting divorced. Duke Tuania reveals that Rashta is the one who indirectly said that Jier's wife was having an affair, describing her appearance, which Duke Tuania knew was his wife's. Sovieshu is distressed by this revelation and realizes that Rashta has a naive and calculating side, which is necessary for survival in high society. But he doesn't want to hear about this side of Rashta. Sovieshu, angered by Navier's sudden departure, plans to make her regret not believing in his sincerity. He demands to rush his wedding before Navier's wedding and sends an invitation to the king of the Western Kingdom to attend. Despite doubts, Sovieshu confirms that they will attend his wedding to see the Duke and Duchess Troby. Navier received a flower basket from Krista's ladies-in-waiting as a surprise. She told her that Navier had received personal knights and asked her to hand the basket to her as congratulations. Countess Jubal asked if they should throw the basket away, but Rose agreed to keep it on the undecorated table. The queen asks Rose to send a bouquet of acacia flowers to Krista in return, her ladies-in-waiting, if she really needs to give flowers, but she believes a false friendship is better than conflict. The queen is surprised by Heinley's behavior and decides to open the window for him. Heinley apologizes and allows him to enter through the window. He informs her of good and bad news. He announces that the good news is that their wedding date was confirmed, while the bad news is that the Emperor of the Eastern Empire has invited them to attend his wedding. Heinley asked Navier if will attend, and she replied that she will attend the wedding to see her loved ones. Heinley agrees to accompany her. Heinley questions when will Navier accept him as her husband, causing confusion. She doubts if he wants her to give him love. Heinley told her to answer him later. A well-dressed man, the head butler of the Amaras family, arrives at the residence on behalf of Miss Mullany, a subordinate of the Marquis. The butler informs the queen that she will be delighted to meet, and requests a meeting with her tomorrow. Mullany arrived half an hour early. She greeted the queen politely, expressing her gratitude for meeting her and her eagerness to meet her. Instead of beating around the bush, the queen asked her directly if she was waiting for her to call her, as she wanted something from her. Miss Mullany answered that she will help her integrate into the high society of the Western Kingdom. In return, she demands to drive Krista out of the royal palace. Mullany recounts a fight with Krista which led to negative words from His Majesty Heinley. She claims that nobles following Krista have intimidated her and her friends. Mullany believes that once Krista leaves the royal palace, the group will disperse. After Mullany left, Navier asked the relationship between Mullany and Krista. Rose explained that the rumor of an argument led to a split in high society. She mentioned that Miss Mullany, the only child of Marquis Amaras, wanted to succeed the title of her father. She was also aware that her adopted brother, Duke Liberty's third child, was on Krista's side, the one that her father adopted to succeed his position. Laura asks about Navier's decision, but she remains silent. She considered joining Mullany to bring high society closer to her, but she become hostile towards Krista. She temporarily consider a false friendship as a solution. The queen contemplates the Eastern Empire and her mixed feelings. She aspires to show her parents how well she is living, while also wishing Sovieshu would be surprised to see her and show how she's fine without him in her life. Heinley approached the queen and asked to ride in the carriage with her. The queen's ladies-in-waiting quickly left and headed for another carriage. Navier asked Heinley to transform into queen, saying that she want to hug his bird form. Heinley transform immediately. Navier notices their carriage tilted and hears Unum's voice outside. The queen instructs Heinley to return to his human form. Navier is startled by a jolt in the carriage and is pressed to the floor by naked Heinley, who has lost balance while dressing. He apologizes and admits it was not intentional. Heinley tells her not to move, explaining that their position is very stimulating. Heinley flinches, and the narrator makes eye contact with him. He puts on clothes but doesn't open his eyes. When the door opens, Heinley's clothes are wrinkled and his neck is flushed. Navier notices lipstick marks on his neck and closes the door. Before visiting the imperial palace of the Eastern Empire, they first gathered at Troby Mansion. She was reunited with her family. Navier stares at Sovieshu, who appears unperturbed and sad. Sovieshu, who opens his mouth and expresses gratitude for the gesture of friendship from the Western Kingdom. On the day before the wedding, they go for a walk with Heinley, who recalls a time when Navier was the empress who tries to feed queen insects. They both reminiscing their funny moments and recalls their past encounter until Sovieshu showed himself. She greeted him with a smile, but Sovieshu remains motionless and asks Heinley to have a moment alone with Navier. Heinley refuses to leave his wife with an angry man, causing Sovieshu to become rigid. Heinley clarifies that Navier is his wife, which drew a clear line between Navier and Sovieshu as they were strangers. Now, Sovieshu directly look at Navier and ask to speak with her. While Navier is curious about Sovieshu's message to her, she decides to stay with her husband, Heinley. His reaction was even stranger, as if he was hurt that I was the one cheating. Sovieshu looked at me with a stunned face, then looked fiercely at Heinley, turned, and left. The queen asked Heinley if he was okay, to which Heinley nodded and then leaned on her shoulder. When the wedding day arrived, she was surprised by the impressive pillars with magic engraved on the decorations of Sovieshu wedding hall, and doubt Sovieshu's motives for making Rashta the empress for only 1 year, and she was relieved she did not reply his letter. The high priest arrives at the wedding hall, appearing tired and disgusted from his visits to the Eastern Empire. Sovieshu appeared dashing, while Rashta, who walked next to Sovieshu and her dress was revealed, looked more like a Christmas tree, and the arrogant nobles mocked her dress. On her most important day, she appeared in a ridiculous dress, but she had a satisfied face and a confident smile, showing as if she had won. Rashta and Sovieshu sign a marriage certificate, marking the birth of a new emperor couple in the Eastern Empire. The couple appears happy, but Navier was hoping they are unhappy. The emperor and empress were supposed to ride a wedding parade in the capital. Sovieshu stopped her and asked to change her clothes because she looks ridiculous, but Rashta grumbled and was ordered to at least remove her accessories. Navier and Heinley enter a parade carriage, facing the stares of the Eastern Empire people. As they pass through the streets, they hear a loud cheer for Rashta. However, the cheering turns to near deathly silence as they pass. Navier tries to hide her embarrassment by keeping her chin up and trying to remain composed, while Heinley grips her hand tighter. Many of her friends ignore her, but since the Troby family's influence in the Eastern Empire is great, there are still many nobles who mingle with her. After the dance of groom and bride, Heinley asks her for a dance. Despite the tense atmosphere and Sovieshu's gaze, she pretends not to notice. Duke LG unexpectedly asks her to dance. Despite feeling awkward, she agrees and asks what he wants to say, but Duke LG remains unresponsive. She was asked to dance with Sovieshu. She was initially reluctant, but later on agrees since it is rude to decline. The groom, Sovieshu, asked about her reply to his letter. She answered that she has nothing to say to him, but Sovieshu state that he don't want to lose her, while Navier reminded him that today is his wedding. Navier questions Sovieshu about the possibility of making her empress again in a year, questioning if it will be extended if he has a second child with Rashta. Unsure of the future, she expresses her dissatisfaction with raising a child of him with Rashta and the potential rejection she might face from his children while she was thrown away. After speaking, Navier looked at Sovieshu, surprised by his pale complexion and slightly open mouth. She bowed politely, turned, and walked away, already tired from their brief conversation.